My friends at Elecro have sent me a couple of things to take a look at and play with and show you. These are their ThinkNode M1 and ThinkNode M5 LoRa Meshtastic radios. Even though they come set up for Meshtastic, they can also do Mesh Core, so whoever it was that was about to type that in the comments, I know about Mesh Core. We'll be playing with it at some point. But since these come set up for Meshtastic, I'm going to just demonstrate them out of the box with what you get. The ones I got are set up for 915 megahertz band, which is correct for North America. There are other bands available in different parts of the world. If you're planning on getting into mesh radio or LoRa, just make note of where you live and what's the correct frequencies in your area. But anyway, let's get these out of their boxes and take a look at them. The reason that they sent me two different models is so that I can compare and contrast. Let me just keep those where they belong. Inside both packages is almost the same. There's a little keyring lanyard for both of them. They've both got a little quick start guide here, which we'll look at in a bit. They both come with an antenna, which you will need. And they both come with a USB-C charging lead. So they are both housed in the same case. They both look the same from the front side. On the back, they identify what they are, the M1 on the left and the M5 on the right. Band that this particular pair is set up for. On top, we have an SMA antenna connector and I think it's a rotary encoder and selector. On the left side, we have a GPS on-off switch and a couple of buttons to control different modes. Before I do anything else, I am going to connect the antennas to them because it's bad form to operate a radio transmitter without an antenna on it. It can damage the amplifier. It's not a good situation. I see that there's some O-rings in there for the antennas. I will deal with those later. But now we can get into these a little bit more. You'll have noticed already that there is stuff being displayed on the screen, and that's because the screens on these are both e-ink, which means the screen can have information sent to it and then uses zero energy, zero power, zero voltage to continue displaying that indefinitely until you apply power to the screen and give it more information, more commands, which is kind of neat. I've never actually played with anything e-ink before. So the only real difference between these two is the microcontroller that's powering them. The M1 is powered by an NRF 52840 and the M5 is powered by an ESP32S3. So the controls on both of them all do exactly the same things as you would expect. If you want a detailed manual for your very own, scan that and download the manual from there. The big question I'm sure everybody's having already is, what is the practical difference between these two? I mean, they've got a different chip running them, but why would you want one over the other? Let's take a peek at the website and see if we can find information there. The main differences that I can see between the two of them is the RAM. The M5 being an ESP32 has almost twice the RAM and a little bit more ROM. It supports Wi-Fi 802.11, whereas the M1 with its NRF chip does not. However, in the NRF chip in the M1's favor, we have a much lower power consumption, 85 milliamps maximum and 5.6 microamps. That's a typo, but it's microamps as a standby current, whereas the ESP32 based M5 draws max 340 milliamps and low power mode is at 34 microamps. So there is the real trade-off. You've got a little bit more program memory. You've got Wi-Fi if you want it here, but you've got a much higher current draw. So with the same size battery in both of them, you're going to get a lot longer run time between charges off the M1, the NRF-based one. But if Wi-Fi is useful, and there are a couple of features that these do use Wi-Fi in, then this is your better option. So let's power these two guys on. It just comes off that. Okay, looks like they are both waking up and refreshing their display. And here is where they have landed. That one looks like it's set on the long fast channel, which is one of several channels that are available. Long distance, fast data speed, so higher bandwidth. And the bandwidth isn't huge on these. It's intended for text communication only. You're not going to use them for internet replacement or anything like that. This is strictly for short text communication. This guy here has a menu available. Welcome to Meshtastic. Click to navigate. So one downside of using an e-ink display or an e-paper display is it takes quite a bit of time to refresh the screen. So the first thing to do is to set the region, which tells it what frequencies to use. So I'm going to choose US, even though I'm in Canada. Canada and US share a frequency plan. Right, long press on the bottom button, and that will reboot to set that up. While that's rebooting, let's see what's here. On the M1, it says no GPS lock, which makes perfect sense because I'm in a basement. It's got 5 minutes of uptime, and the battery is 4 volts or 88%. That's just clicking through these two menu options down here. So other than that, there's not much going on the screen initially. These are not intended to be used 100% as standalone devices. They're intended to Bluetooth your phone with the appropriate app and allow you to, compose complete text messages there. You can upload some preset text messages onto this thing so that you can just use it independently. But let me go and get my phone, and we'll see if I can connect to these guys. So I've already gone onto my app store and downloaded both the Meshtastic and MeshCore apps. So let's just see what happens. Again, it communicates by Bluetooth to these guys. So I am doing this without reading the manuals. I am doing this completely experimentally noob stuff. So I'm probably going to make a bunch of errors. But we'll just do this anyway. So when I go into this menu, I see that it has already picked up both of them. And I guess it's identifying itself by their MAC addresses or something. So this one shows on the screen that its address is AB04, which is that one. That's the M1. And the M5 shows that it is 4D3C, which is that one. So let's pairing. Oh, okay. So I tapped it and it gives me a pairing code. I don't know if that is generated randomly each time or not, but okay, so it looks like it's connected to it. That's good. And it's asking if it can send me notifications, so that's good. Let's do the same thing on the other one now. And I'll pair it as well. So while the M5, the ESP32 one, in its menu system allowed me to set my region, the M1 didn't allow me to set the region on the screen, so it's asking me to do it here. Please set a region, United States, which I wish they would call that North America, because that's what it really is. Now there are a bunch of other configuration options on here. I know long fast is what channel it's using, and again that is long distance and fast speed. There are a bunch of other options there, but the default and what most regions use for the public mesh is long fast, so I'm going to stick to that. And then there's all these advanced ones. So the number of hops option, that is how many radios it can repeat through to get to its end destination. And again, this is the default, and I'm going to leave it there. These two that I've got to play with, I'm probably not going to have more than 3 hops between the two of them for my experiments, so I'll just leave it at default for now. And then there are some more advanced features down here, which I'm not going to mess with because I don't know exactly what they do, but I have applied that, and that is rebooting the M1. So I'll close that while it's rebooting, and I will go back to the other one, this guy. and we'll see what it has to say for itself. It has a short name, and actually, I think I can probably change these things. It is a client right now. There are options to change it to being a router or a repeater, but for normal users, for portable use, you want to stick to client apparently. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff here, telemetry and whatnot, position. I'm not going to do that right now. Actually, I probably can, because it won't have picked up a position because I'm in a basement. That says what it is. It is a ThinkNote M5. And there's the firmware that the M5 is running on. Currently, it's 2.7.15, which, according to the app, is the latest stable, so that's good. Although there is a newer alpha version, but I think, as I've mentioned already, I want to run these things for my initial looking at them, just run them on the software that came with them. Under the user menu, you can change the names of the thing. So I think I am going to do that and save that, and the save should cause a reboot again. Seems like every time you do that, it reboots, which is not unheard of for microcontrollers. And I'm going to just go in and do exactly the same thing on the other one so that I can tell what they are. One moment, please. And now that they've both rebooted, I can see both of them on here. And on the screen of the M1, it shows that it has a neighbor, which it can't tell how far away it is because neither of them can see GPS in my basement, but it can see that neighbor is PowerStuff M5. And on the M5, it also knows that its only neighbor is POS1. But again, it can't tell the distance because neither of them knows where they are in the world. And it seems that the software on both of them is slightly different, which I guess makes a certain amount of sense because they are slightly different hardware. Let's just see what that explains why they're different. The M1 has 2.6.5 software on it rather than the latest stable, which is 2.715. But even though they both got slightly different versions of software, they can still talk to each other, so that's good. Let's see if we can figure out how to send a message. Until they've seen each other and sent each other a message, they can't send private messages, so I'm going to have to send my first message as a broadcast, which I don't think is going to hurt anybody because I can't see anyone else in my basement. So that is a message being sent from the M1 to the M5. And there we see that I got a message, test 1, from the M1. So that's good. And if I log into the M5, it already pinged me that there's a message for me. And there it is on the Longfast channel. Cool. So now with me logged into the M5, I can see the message that was sent from the M1. And I've got its address here. Its node number and all the rest of these good things. It's 0 hops away. It's uptime and it's signal to noise and everything else. But now I can send a direct message from the M5 to the M1. And in theory, the M1 should show, DM test. There it is. This is a little awkward running both of them off the same phone. Normally, you wouldn't do that, right? But this is not a normal situation. I'm just testing these two. So I log back into the M1, and here is the message from the M5. Cool. And there it is. There is obviously a lot more to these than just sending short messages back and forth, but that is their core function. I am going to take both of these out in the world over the next week or two, probably, and play with them. And I will come back after I've done that, after I know more about them, and I will show you more, which is going to be the continuation of this video for me, a couple of weeks for you, just after this fancy little transition. So I've been out and about and messing around with these for a little while now, and one thing I'm noticing, because they both got different firmware on them, It's kind of impairing my ability to compare them directly because the screens are different, the displays are different on the UI. So I am going to try updating the firmware in the M1 because the M5 came with the more modern firmware, the 2.7. And you can do this a few different ways, but I'm going to use the app and update it over Bluetooth. Warnings, yeah, okay, keep your ladder handy, sure, I know what I'm doing. Let's find out what happens. There are, of course, multiple ways of updating this. The most common one is probably connecting a USB cable to the radio and plugging it into your computer, but I figured I would try this, and as you can tell, I'm not sitting in my basement, not sitting at my workshop. I am out and about, so let's just see if this works. No, things are happening. Verifying update, it says. It hasn't lost its programming. It still thinks it's POS 1. That's good. Cool, it looks like it's on. It's got 0 minutes of uptime, which makes sense. It can't see any other radios yet, but that usually takes a while. And it's still got 95% battery. Right. Waiting for the phone to reconnect to it, I guess. Looks like it generated a new Bluetooth code, so let's pair with that. The radio seems to have reset itself. And I'm connected. And now they both have the same displays on them. They're both on the same software load. That is excellent. This one's got the phone connected to it right now. That one doesn't, but other than that, they are showing the same displays, which is going to make it a lot easier for me to compare them. So, time to start wandering around out in the world and seeing if I can find any other clients. And just for reference, the M5 can see 6 other clients right now. Also, its GPS can see 15 satellites, which is cool. It's been on for a while, and with that 15 GPS satellites, it's getting a fairly accurate fix on where I am. Meanwhile, the M1 has been up for about 2 minutes, and it's already found 3 other clients. So, well, we'll wander around for a while in this area and see how many we find and see if they can both find the same number. Time has passed. You can see the uptime on the radios. I've moved around a little bit to a little bit more densely populated part of the city, and I can see 25 other radios on both of them. So I don't see any real difference in the hardware. Well, it's got the same radio hardware in it, so there shouldn't be. They've both got the same antenna. Apparently you can get aftermarket antennas that'll be a little bit higher gain, but these are nice small pocket-sized ones. And as you can see, they are talking to a good number of other radios. Yeah, I don't know that there is much between the two of them other than the battery life on them, really. They both seem to absolutely do the job. Okay, here's one observation that I have made. The knob adjusts the backlight control on both of them. However, after a while on the M1, it doesn't seem to do that. It does initially when it's first booted up, but after it's been online for, or awake for, a couple hours, it doesn't seem to. On the M5, that does adjust the backlight. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's a software glitch because, like I said, it does work when it's first fired up. So it's been a few days. I've been playing with these things off and on, including the rainy days that I was driving around that you saw earlier. So some of the playing that I've been doing has included doing a battery test on these. I just left the both on, fully charged, starting fully charged, with them both on, sitting side by side, talking to each other, whatever they want to ping each other. And after 48 hours, the M1 was at 29% of its battery, but the M5 died after about 10 and a half hours, which matches up with what it showed in the data sheet. The other things, I think I mentioned it earlier, the M1, after some time, the backlight stops working. As you can see right now, it's fine. They both do exactly what you would expect them to do. After a few hours on, for some reason, the backlight dimmer doesn't work. The backlight just stays off. 99% of the time, that's not a big deal, but it might matter if you're out hiking in the dark or something with these things, trying to communicate with your friends. And realistically, I think that is probably the best application for these if you're going hiking or going camping or something, or backcountry, away from civilization. It gives you an opportunity to communicate back and forth with other people in your group. Even if you don't have the cell phone connected to it, which when you do have the cell phone connected, it gives you a lot more things you can do. But even without that connected, these do still have a fast message or a short message that you can preset and send to each other. Just by holding down the top button for a few seconds, it gets you into the menu, and you have your preset options for sending messages. Just scroll down and long press the bottom button, and it will send, and the other one will receive it, as you would expect. So you could preset those messages, those canned messages, in the app, and have them be whatever you want for your application. So if you are, like I said, going out with friends, and you've got a couple of these you want to communicate between canoes or between campsites or something like that, perfect. Just playing with them, I left one sitting on the window ledge at home and went out for a walk, and up to about a kilometer away, I was able to ping them back and forth with no trouble. You could probably go further if you weren't in an urban environment with all the houses blocking the way, but that's what I tried. When I was driving around and was able to see all of these nodes around the city, as far as I can tell, the default action of Meshtastic software is to broadcast your GPS coordinates with a random offset so that people can't, invade your privacy too bad. As I understand it, the location offset is a default in Meshtastic in general. It's set somewhere around a kilometer or so, I think. Don't quote me exactly on that. But because of that, I don't know exactly where any of these other guys are. I mean, it's a privacy respecting default, so you got to be happy about that. But I was seeing some of these 10 plus kilometers away, so even plus or minus 1 kilometer on this and plus or minus 1 kilometer on the other one, I was still getting between 8 and 12 kilometers range on some of these, so that was pretty good. They do what they're supposed to do. The meshing works. They can communicate with each other. All good. Nice lightweight little things for carrying around, which is again what these are for. They're not infrastructure nodes. They're not intended to be. So you don't need them to be big and bulky and heavy. If you want to learn more about permanent installed nodes, Gabe over at Save It for Parts has some very good videos on it. I'll put a link to one of those up there. Let's quickly go and look at Elecrow's website, just because, they sent me these things for review and showing off. So here we go on Elecrow's website. There's the two radios right there, the M1 and the M5. They're each essentially $54 US dollars. Keep that in mind. I will, of course, put links down below to both radios, the M1 and the M4, so that you can look at the specs and whatnot yourself. There's some other optional add-ons that you could add on if you chose to. Oh, yeah, and you can also get replacement antennas that are physically larger, which makes it a little bit less pocket size, but larger antennas pick up better signal, you get better range and all the rest of that stuff. So that's also an option available. And that comparison chart that I showed earlier on in the video, this is where I got it from. It's on both the M1 and the M5 page, so follow either of the links down below if you want to get a closer look at that. Anyway, this video has gone on much longer than I intended it to. I'm generally pleased with these, and like I said, I'm a fairly noob with the Meshtastic stuff, so I will definitely play with these in the future, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about them other than thanks for watching. Questions and comments, links, and all that down below. I will talk to you later.